Hey, Javy, let's talk about Titanfall 2.
There you go, JV.
All right, yeah, let's talk about Titanfall 2. What do you want to know about Titanfall 2, Ben?
I started playing this game last night. I played a couple hours of the campaign. I grew to really, really like it.
Yeah, it's really good.
Where did this come from?
Right? It's weird. How is this good?
So here's the arc of this whole thing, right? Starts out, and this is from Respawn. If you're not familiar with this whole thing, sci-fi, mechs, the whole thing. It's a lot of former Infinity Ward employees. Obviously, Call of Duty 4 was gigantic for them.
Right.
So Titanfall 2 starts out, and it opens with, "Hey, look up at this light, soldier. Look down at this light, soldier."
It's basically Halo's opening, like
Yeah.
the original Halo opening.
And then it's like, "Hey, let's go through this training area. What's it called? Practice range."
Yeah, the gauntlet, running the gauntlet, and it's basically the same thing you do in Modern Warfare's training thing.
It's exactly like that.
Yeah, that is exactly what it is.
And so during that
sci-fi.
entire segment, I was like, "Oh, JV's out of his mind. This is like the most standard single-player shooter campaign imaginable. It's even a little bit cheesy out of the gate. Like there's a man.
Oh, it's so cheesy.
There's a man dying. Like, take my robot. Take
And then he
my
says
Titan
Tango, Bravo, Echo, just a bunch of words. It's
Are they
great.
clearly going for that, aping like the intro of famous shooters?
No. It's not like it's a elaborate.
No, they're just
homage or anything.
callbacks to Modern Warfare. There are at least three, like, it's got to be deliberate callbacks to Modern Warfare.
But here's what happens. You start to realize this is still going. There's no moment that's annoying to me as a player. This pacing and momentum is getting absurd. And then where I really peaked last night was about where I stopped playing, sadly. But there is a level that's set in this like construction facility.
Yep. It's basically Inception. Like,
It's insanely awesome.
Yep.
So basically imagine, like Portal 2, remember the beginning where like the walls come down and you see like the entire factory facility thing? Imagine that combined with like the awesome sequence from Attack of the Clones where Padme is on the conveyor belt trying to dodge the things.
The awesome sequence from Attack of the Clones.
Pivotal sequence in Attack of the Clones.
Here. No.
It's that, except they're constructing these prefab houses and terrains and lawns, and as it's being constructed with all these different layers, you're running on the walls, then jumping to this thing, then getting over to here, as like the one piece you're on just gets more and more elaborate, and then it culminates in this bizarre Hunger Games-esque fight on top.
Yep.
Does it just keep going from there? And
Oh, yeah, you're
awesome?
not even to the best part. Like, you're like 2 hours away from when the game peaks. It does something really cool with a device that I'm not going to talk about because embargo says I can't talk about it, actually.
Whoa.
Wiimote?
Ooh.
Yeah.
All right, scrub that. So you actually stopped before you peaked.
Apparently.
Yeah, but like the game peaks there, and it's not a bad thing that it peaks there because it's still good, but it's a series of wow moments. Like you were talking about the pacing, like this is probably the best paced, well-paced first-person shooter campaign I've played in years. Like even Wolfenstein, which I love Wolfenstein to death. There are two sections in that game that are garbage that I will always say, this is garbage, they should have scrubbed this is just really bad. There is no section in Titanfall 2's campaign, and I've played it 4 times now.
Holy
What?
Lord.
For review? You guys play
For
something wrong
review,
with that. Wow.
for review, one time for review, one time for enjoyment, one time looking for secrets, and one time trying to beat it on the hardest difficulty. And it's not that long; it's 6 to 8 hours.
Okay.
But there is no section where I'd go, this doesn't need to be here. It's lean, it's fun. It always switches things up right when I'm just getting tired of shooting dudes. Like it's like, okay, let's do this puzzly segment for a bit. Okay, let's do some parkour. It knows when to switch things up.
They really rely heavily on wall running in at least the first couple hours. It's so much time. I was like, hey, I bet you could run across that gap if you run on this wall here, soldier, just again and again and again.
So it basically is that tutorial.
A little bit. But how much of it, you say it's lean, not that it's easy, but how much of it is just kind of simplified, streamlined, and that's what leads to that great pacing?
I'm not sure what you mean when you say simplified. In comparison to what?
I'm just saying, you mentioned like a puzzle area. Like, are there moments where it really slows down and opens up a little bit? Because it's not exactly corridor. Like, it's interesting spaces, but it funnels you pretty well. And
No.
keeps you
The
pushing forward.
funnel stuff still stays there, but you are presented, especially if you're going for collectibles. But later on, there are different puzzles than just like parkour sort of stuff, where you're not just calculating trajectories and trying to figure out where you need to go. Like that device I'm talking about that you'll get later, you actually have to use it and figure out how to use it pretty quickly to bypass stuff.
Are you sure you can talk about that?
I mean,
He's
I
fine,
can allude to it. It's fine. You'll know what I'm expecting, like a message from you later when you get to that point. It's that kind of thing, like where you stop to text someone who you know has played that sequence. Like, it's just so cool that you have to talk about it. Like, it's really so damn cool.
Okay. So you were describing the campaign the other day, and you're describing that it's over the top, that it's silly.
Mm-hmm.
I still am trying to figure out what the tone is they're going for, because it's jokier than I expected.
Right.
Do you like it for like a popcorn cheesiness level?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because, so many shooters, and this is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just like on its own, there's just so many shooters right now that sort of do the grim, dour thing. Like, it's just, broody dudes. Gears of War 4 surprised me in the same way, too, because it's not that grim. It's actually kind of jokey.
Yeah. Stay tuned for our interview with Eric Holmes about Battlefield 1's grim campaign. But anyways, go on, Javy.
Yeah, but it's just so arcadey and fun, and the dynamic between the pilot, Jack Cooper, and his Titan, BT, I would not call it poignant or anything, but it's effective and funny. Like, the jokes that come in, like, I was chuckling throughout the entire game.
BT is basically just Optimus Prime.
Yep.
I would be surprised if this campaign does not end with Cooper making out with a robot.
Wait, so he talks?
Yeah, he talks. It's actually while you're playing the game, and they don't really. One of my few criticisms I would say about it is that they don't really get the most out of this. Is there's a dialogue system, like a dialogue wheel, where you often have two choices, where you can just talk with your robot while you're running along, and you can choose like what Cooper's going to say to him, and that'll determine whatever BT says back to you. Like, one of them, for example, early on is Jack's talking to BT, and he's asking BT about the former pilot, how long they were linked together, and BT tells him something like 389 days or 700 days, or he's very specific, very data driven, and then Cooper goes, I've never had a relationship last that long, and then BT just says something like,
F me.
No, not even F me. It's like, recording, or I'll store that in my data logs, or something that's just amusing. Like, he's just very flat.
Sounds hilarious.
No, it is funny. It's funny.
I don't
Regale us with another amusing anecdote.
I will. Here's a joke that they tell in the Titanfall 2 story, just to tell you, like, it exemplifies the tone a fair amount. So you run around this area, and there's like this liquid death pit of red goo.
Yeah, it's like toxic stuff.
Yeah. Toxic ooze. So anyways, BT, the robot, comes in the intercom, and he's like, hey, pilot, exercise extreme caution around this stuff. And then one of the dialogue options, I believe, you as the main character can say, you could say that again.
Yeah, yep.
And then you'll never believe the robot literally says, hey, pilot, exercise caution around this stuff. They use the you can say that again joke, everybody.
It's a classic.
Oh.
It is
never
too
been
much
done.
of a classic.
It's amusing.
Wow.
All right, if that's your cup of tea.
Like, it's not like laugh out loud hilarious, but I was chuckling. I was constantly amused.
I appreciate it being lighthearted. There's
Yeah.
also a moment early on when BT talks about how he loves a gun, and there's a joke about, like, I'm 50% in love with this gun. It's a very silly tone.
50% in love?
All right, I'm going to have to see it for myself, because this conversation is not doing it for me.
I'm with you, man.
But I will check it out.
But it's so good, though. Like,
So
it
is the
so
story just total gibberish then, aside from
yes.
aside from the humor, like just story
good.
wise?
I mean, it's just an assemblage of sci-fi cliches that depend on, like, the performance, the voice acting. Like, this is Star Wars. It's Star Wars meets aliens with giant robots.
You're talking prequel Star Wars, right?
No, I'm talking like
It's-
New Hope Star Wars.
Here's what's tough, JV, is when you're describing this and you're like, it's so stupid, it's fun. 9.5.
Yeah,
that's the mix.
That's
It's like,
high praise for something stupid but fun.
No,
I
but
guess
there's
there's a
nothing wrong with stupid but fun. Like, Mario is stupid. But
There's
fun.
nothing wrong with stupid but fun, but when I think 9.5, I think fun. The stupid
But it
don't
doesn't
say
have to be
so.
serious.
Fun.
It doesn't have to be serious, but it can't be stupid, right?
well,
No, that's what I mean when I say stupid. It's not like uber serious.
fun to play, but just a tongue-in-cheek
silly.
campaign, I guess would be
You're
the best way
saying
to put it.
stupid with two O's.
Right, like his,
Is that it?
his version of stupid is what I think of, I guess, like as funny. I mean,
I guess
funny
yeah.
how? I'm not getting this.
Dan,
But
did you my wife?
Not today.
Dan.
Raging Bull, everybody.
Jesus.
So anyways,
he
another
just went
thing.
for it.
Cut that out.
Another thing in this campaign that really stood out to me is, and I'm wondering how much it carries through, but in the early stages, they introduce a character, like this Kane character,
All
and
right.
then you take him out pretty quickly, but then they start showing like other big bad guys. Is this like a Running Man, Metal Gear Solid style?
It's like Metal Gear and Star Fox and Running Man stuff. You meet these bosses, except for the big one. He's sort of present throughout.
Okay.
And his sort of lieutenant in command or whatever, Sloan.
Okay.
Yeah, like you're pretty much listening to them all the time. But the others, they're basically like a gallery of rogues that you take down one by one.
I love that.
Yeah, it's so cool.
It's so
really
stupid to be excited about this old trope in storytelling, but I am a sucker for series of wacky characters that you work your way through in a game. That's just a go-to, right?
cool. My favorite one.
Sure.
And this
Hang
is,
on, Dan Tech and be shaking his head harder.
Nope, no, I don't want to go down.
Are you not thrilled by that?
It's just like, it sounds a lot like we got a lot of like, remembering really cool stuff here. Just playing up that, and I don't want to go down that
No,
road.
it's not even like it's nostalgia driven, I would say. Like it's just well placed. Like it's really cool. They know when to change things up. Like the pacing is the key here. Like they just do so well with it.
And when you say it peaks in the middle, that's just
No, it peaks like 3/4 of the way through.
Okay, the ending. Are we talking like BioShock level structure? Which we've talked about a lot on this
absolutely not.
podcast?
Like
Okay.
everything else after the 3/4 is still like really good, but like it's just that moment, like that level in particular is the peak of it. It's just incredible.
Do they get crazy with mobility? Like I know you're a big mobility and shooters guy.
Mm-hmm.
Is that where the campaign really evolves? Is making you really go nuts with having to run on walls, jump over here, shoot this guy over here? Is that the thrill?
Of that particular level?
No, just of the overall campaign.
Oh yeah.
Campaign.
And of course, battling in big robots. Like there's a section later on where it's basically that classic D-Day Normandy level that was all over the place in World War II first-person shooters.
Yeah.
But you're in a Titan.
Okay.
And it's great. Like it's so good. It's just so good. I love it.
And do they make some wacky pop culture reference in that too?
No, they don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because there's
all the trophies are wacky pop culture references though. Like you fight one of the bosses his name is Richter, and he has an Arnold Schwarzenegger, sort of voice and is very that sort of shtick, and then you kill him and take him out. And the trophy for that is see you at the party, Richter, which is Total Recall.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's
Yeah.
nice.
All right.
Or even like in that at the end of that crazy there's the factory building thing. What's a better term for this?
The assembly factory?
Thank you, like assembly line thing.
Yeah,
At the end
yeah.
of that level when I was talking about like there's that arena where you're kind of challenged, and they even make like a Hunger Games reference there, like, oh, I hope the odds are in our favor right now.
Yeah.
Wink wink at the camera with a giant robot, wink wink.
It ain't Shakespeare.
What did you think of Titanfall 1?
Oh, I loved it. I had like 40 hours logged into it.
Okay.
Like I bought an Xbox One for that.
Does this launch off of that in some way? Are the characters in the first one?
You
Or
do
the
not have-
story in some way tied
Story.
in?
One of them
I mean, it had a rich story.
The first one is known for that. Yeah.
You
Yeah,
remember those people talking that was annoying during multiplayer?
One of those annoying people is like your commanding officer and is
Oh, is that right?
is in the campaign eventually. But no, it's one of those deals where like you can just start up Titanfall 2 without ever having played Titanfall, as long as you have the basic premise that big robots are involved. You can just start up the campaign, and I mean it's pretty clear. It's pretty straightforward. Like there's not really tied to the original Titanfall, except that they're carving a story finally out of this world.
And do you become one at some
With
point
the
in this
Titan.
game?
Do you become the one?
That's right. I just think that marketing line is really stupid.
What? What's the marketing line?
Become one.
Oh, like
Really?
Oh, like
Yeah,
they
I
bought
love
it.
it. Seen that?
Like
I
that's
love it.
actual?
Yeah. In all
I
their
have not
trailers
seen
and
this.
stuff.
That is f***ing stupid.
That is-
Wait, isn't the Transformers thing till
Wow.
all are one?
Yeah, that's way better.
Okay.
I get it. You guys are not thinking enough. They got the Doritos and Mountain Dew, so you take them both, you become one.
That's
Oh,
right.
I've
Well,
heard
it's
great things.
because
I love it.
the pilot jumps into the
Oh,
suit of
I
the
see.
mech.
Yeah,
And So
yeah.
they
It
become
all makes sense
one.
now.
It's beautiful.
Let's hear about multiplayer. So many people fell in love with the multiplayer of Titanfall 1. Where does this evolve? What does it do?
It's more of a if it ain't broke, don't fix it sort of thing. Like
Yeah.
they make subtle revisions to it. Like the smart gun, I think the ones that made everyone really mad is they haven't removed the little smart gun. The smart gun in the original, it would let you like auto lock onto players and sort of grunts that roam around the battlefield, and you could just keep pressing it and spam it and take out a bunch of people. And there were ways to deal with that. It was basically Titanfall's version of Bastion. People complained about it all the time, and there was
Even Bastion doesn't have auto lock. That's
yeah,
that's
but
far
it's
more.
but I'm just talking about like its sort of presence in the game.
Oh, I
Like,
thought you meant the isometric RPG.
That's what I was
Bastion.
thinking too at first. You're talking about Overwatch.
yeah,
Okay, got it.
Overwatch. But so for this, they have a compromise where it's a power up that you can like attach to your character, and once you take out enough people, or you wait long enough in the match, you can activate it and get it for a limited amount of time and stuff like that.
I forgot what it's like to have Dan Tech on this podcast.
You don't like having me here?
I just cannot stop looking at you because it looks like JV's just describing the most horrific thing imaginable.
Not the most horrific.
But
wait, what is it he said when we first started this podcast? Is it going to be a total...
I thought it was going to be a carnival of chaos.
Oh,
Carnival Chaos.
A Carnival of Chaos where
Chaos.
someone's just sitting back sighing going,
welcome to the Carnival
I haven't played it. I wish I could weigh in.
yeah.
But like, I'm seeing like some serious dissonance between this and like the 9.5 myself.
Whatever.
It's
Anyway,
fun.
it's super fun. And then there's the grappling hook, which is new. You can like grapple onto Titans, pull out batteries, take away chunks of their health, jump off of them, and then in midair grapple back onto them and take another chunk. Or you can grapple onto players and just sort of zoom towards them and give them a roundhouse kick that sends their corpse soaring through the sky.
This is the best part of the campaign so far. As much as I love that weird factory level so far, punching people.
It's like the best melee attack.
It's the best melee since Bulletstorm for me.
Wait,
Like,
punching people with the mech, you mean?
No. I mean, you
Really?
can do that, but like, it's just like, as the pilot, it just sounds so powerful. They've got something there where it just feels powerful to like punch a guy off of a
and it's not realistic. Like, you're like a rookie pilot and like, all right, let's see what this melee is like. And then it's like you just are wearing like an exosuit or something. Like, people go flying when you punch them. And so running around the battlefield just punching everybody is really silly.
It's like a bunch of one-hit kills?
Yeah.
Oh, it's just awful.
Yeah. Or and you can do like melee executions. You can sneak up on enemies, And that's another thing I really like about it is even though it has that sort of narrow corridor design that we were talking about, like there are plenty of places where it suddenly expands into just more of a Far Cry or Metal Gear Solid sort of thing where you have, tactical cloak available to you so you can sneak around camps and take out enemies, or you can go in all guns blazing, or there are several points where you can just run past enemies. Like you don't have to fight anyone. Like you can just wall run or sneak past them. You don't have to do that. So there's a lot of replayability there.
Dan Tech, what's one thing JV said today that you think sounds cool?
I don't know. This whole thing is just like this glorification of violence in this game. I don't know if I can handle it.
You get to shoot space puppies if you're into that, Dan Tech.
What?
That's like the opening. There's like dumb space dogs all over the place.
Oh,
Like,
that's
actual dogs?
No, they're giant lizards.
They're like avatar dogs, just like
Jeez.
They are
freaking things.
giant lizards.
I don't know if I can handle this, guys.
They do act like dogs, JB. They're more dog than lizard.
They're lizards.
Do they do cool stuff with the world? Like the sci-fi world? Does it build out like weird dragons and stuff that everyone was so excited about in Titanfall 1?
Space whales.
I mean, no, not really.
It's like dogs.
Like
and
you see the
lizards,
giant lizard dogs, and then you see another variety of giant lizard dogs.
Well,
Okay.
That's something to look
It's like
forward to.
dogs and lizards
All
have
right.
become one.
Yeah. Jesus.
The most exciting thing I've seen from multiplayer is it was just one screenshot, and I want more clarification on what the hell this was. But they described it as like this weird 1v1 mode. It basically looks like Final Destination from Smash Brothers, except in Titanfall. Do you know what that is? Is that
Oh, the Coliseum mode.
what is that?
Well, it's weird because we didn't get like hands-on with that, so I can't really talk about that.
Oh man.
But supposedly it has this sort of Destiny thing, I guess, where you build up credits like Iron Banner or whatever, and then you get to basically do Thunderdome with other pilots. And
It's
just
cool looking.
Just go up against each other.
Is that in the game now, or it's going to be patched in?
I think it's in as a multiplayer mode right now, but it's not available until the game actually launches.
All right, which is Friday.
Yeah.
Gotcha. It looks fun. I'm always up for a weird 1v1 mode, and it just looks like this bizarre, sterile environment. Dantec, you are going to play this game, right?
Absolutely. I did enjoy the first one. I'm all about multiplayer, so.
It's interesting that last week our discussion about Battlefield 1 was like, man, it's so great to go back in time, get away from this sci-fi stuff. And now with this game, it's like, sci-fi rules!
Yay!
World War I, whatever.
Get out of
No,
here.
I'm actually, I'm really happy that this one did turn out so great.
Yeah.
I felt the first one got passed over just because it didn't have that campaign by a lot of folks, and
Yeah, for sure.
it sounds great.
Graphically, I think it looks good. It's not up to the AAA level that I was expecting, and it's a super lean, small development team. But a couple more hitches. Faces don't look great.
Yeah, that's really the only thing that bothered me throughout. Is occasionally you'll come up in contact with like other humans and like listen to them talk and close up, and then you look at their face and it's super glossy and it's just kind of off, and it's not Uncanny Valley. It's just this looks weird.
Uncanny small trench.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's interesting because I thought when it released, Titanfall 1, I thought looked really good.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just like they haven't really improved it much since then is the thing.
Well, how many times in Titanfall 1 did you have a character animating that he's dying directly in front of you? outside of multiplayer.
Every time you pulled them out of this, pulled them out of their mech and.
Yeah, I guess so, but I guess more like a narrative moment,
Right.
You're like
Sure.
focused looking at them. So maybe it's just this
Once
one's
you
more
add that
ambitious.
cinematic angle to it.
Yeah, it's not like it looks worse than Titanfall 1, I
No,
can imagine.
Right.
No, it looks sort of awkward. Also, that one scene with that dying guy, and he's saying just nonsense military words like
Right.
Tango Bravo. Like
He's trying to relay vital information back to his commander.
He's
so-
dialing
his
he's
CO.
dialing in why BT should be your new partner in life is the lower reason why he's doing that. So this game's better than Quadrilateral Cowboy?
Yeah. I mean, it's the game I'll probably be throwing down for when we do our end of the year thing, unless Dishonored 2 is amazing.
Wait.
JV's game of the
JV, I don't
year.
think so,
Titanfall
buddy.
is your number one game of the year?
Titanfall 2 is my number one game of the year right
Woo! Wow. What's your number two?
now. Overwatch.
Okay.
Number
Interesting.
3.
Number 3?
for
Probably
all
Quad
of it.
Cow. Yeah.
Quad cow.
Number 4.
That's everybody calls it that.
One of the Fire Emblems.
All right. I love it. It's interesting. I went
Just
back
pick one.
because I remember this game, by the way, it's not an Xbox One PC exclusive. Now it's on PS4.
Yeah, it's on PS4.
So be sure to keep that in mind. I went back. There's an old interview that Burtz did with Vince from Respawn where he was talking about the reaction towards Titanfall 1. And he says, quote, "At some point you look at it and you say, is it even worth now this much later the effort to put Titanfall 1 on Steam? When it would be a lot of work and kind of bifurcate the community. We would have loved it for it to be on Steam from day one, but at some point it just doesn't make sense anymore and you start looking to the future, and I think we should not make that same decision again." And now Titanfall 2 is out and it's only on Origin. Publishers rule,
For
everybody.
6 months, and then it'll be on Steam.
I don't know. EA is pretty locked
EA
down with
holds
that
on
stuff.
to that stuff. Like Mass Effect 3 never came to Steam.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Oh,
Mass
that's
Effect
weird.
2 and the original Mass Effect is on there, but
Yeah,
not
for
Mass
sure.
Effect 3.
God, that's weird.
Huh.
All right, but anyways,
All right.
9-5 for
It's not that
Titanfall
weird.
2.
Yep, 9-5.
Thank you so much for watching this excerpt from the Game Informer Show podcast. You can click right here if you want to subscribe and listen to the audio version of the full show. Full episodes air every Thursday, and they feature Game Informer editors sitting around talking about the biggest reviews, previews. We talk about exclusive impressions of Game Informer's cover stories. We have long-form developer interviews, everything that's great in gaming. So every Thursday, be sure to check it out.